Kind of the main topic of this pod. We did go over some specific players, but the Pistons, the season is a quarter of the way over. I think it's actually more than a quarter of the way over.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but yeah, we're at that point already.
Yeah, Pistons are 5-17, and basically my main takeaway is that the Pistons are a competitive basketball team for me because on this 6-game West Coast trip, they were in every single game. They beat Denver, which I think is a top 4 seed in the West. They beat Utah, which I don't think Utah is gonna be a playoff team, but they've been really, really surprising. And then, barely lose to the Suns, and then they were in it against the Cavs, and you see the difference in this team. This is the same team that got absolutely blown out by the Cavs earlier in the season, and that was without Garland and Mitchell. And now somehow the Pistons, without Cade, without Ivy, without Stu, play a great game against the Cavs and nearly win it. Like, this is a competitive basketball team, man. Like, that's I don't know.
This team is all of a sudden it's not a team that anybody wants to really face. They're a scrappy team, and it's a team that with time can definitely become a team that other teams are scared of, and it's something that we're seeing the beginning of. This is something we're planting the seeds almost. It's definitely going to be exciting to see when we can get these guys back. How many of these games have we been like, oh, if we had Cade, we would have won that easily, or even Stu for some of these games. And so I think that's something that definitely is worth considering. It's definitely just been super exciting to see us compete with the best of the best, and not be blown out on a nightly basis like we've been used to for a couple of years. And hopefully we can continue it going in this direction. And hopefully we, keep fighting, and it'll definitely help in terms of confidence for the players. When you're losing and getting blown out all the time, it's not a team that you really want to play for and fight for. But when you're getting in close games and always competing with the best, you're just a step away. You're just a player away or something like that. So I think that's definitely something to look out for in the future. We're not a team to necessarily toy around with.
No, and I'm trying to think, like, when was the last time we even got blown out? Like, I'm going back and looking at the schedule. The last blowout, I think, was November 9th. Yeah, November 9th against the Celtics. Like, I'm looking at the scores to some of these games. Lost to the Raptors by 4 points. The West Coast trips, all games were close. Like, they've been in every single game. Yeah. And I don't know, like, what can we attribute that to? Is it coaching? Is it the returns of Alec Burks and Marvin Bagley? Like, I'm not going to be that guy that's like, oh, they're better without Cade or stuff like that. But it's like, is it just time? Like, a switch has been flipped, and what do you think that is?
I think more than anything, the guys who are playing are actually like thriving in their roles. As weird as that sounds, like, we're having guys like Livers has started for the last couple of games. We've had Killian starting for the last couple of games. And we even brought up Rodney McGruder to start over someone like Alec Burks, who most would just assume Alec Burks would slide into that role. But no, we kept Burks there, and that was intentional because he is a bench scorer. That's what he does, and that's what he's best at. And it gives him more flexibility, and it works out better for us. And we're seeing more cohesiveness with the unit because of that, more cohesion with the unit because of that. So I think as long as we can keep developing these guys in their specific roles, they'll know like their minutes better. They'll know their rotations better. They'll know their matchups better. It's going to work out better for everyone. And I think that's why guys like Bagley and Burks are able to, thrive a little bit more right now because, this is more of a consistent role for them. This isn't like their minutes aren't going to change that much once these other guys come back.
Okay. I want your opinion. If they were a completely healthy team, which is never the case, but let's say in a perfect world, they're mostly healthy, like 85-90% healthy. Sure. Are they at least a 500 team?
With the current roster? Mm-hmm. I'm going to say no. Okay. I don't think so. I think we're close, but I'm going to say no. I think we're still a piece away still, unless, we're still maybe some development away. Cade, if he can, continue his jump that he was taking, we definitely could see some wins as the result of that. But outside of that, the other pieces that we have, I don't think are quite to the point of a 500 team in today's league, today's very talented league, especially, with the games we've been playing recently. it may seem like, we have more of a chance, but I don't think we're winning more than, 35 games maybe max with this squad fully healthy. Maybe you can creep up towards like 37, 38, but that I think is probably the max in my opinion for what we would be able to do even with this team healthy.
Yeah, and 5-17 start again is it's not what you have hoped for, but I do think there's a lot of storylines, a lot of interesting developments from this team. Obviously, the play of Killian,
Yeah.
Kevin Knox coming on strong, Sadiq Bey. Now he has, you would think, have a chip on his shoulder, and then you obviously have the guys coming back from injury like Isaiah Stewart,
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham, and the rookies Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey. So anything you're looking forward to seeing from this team, in the not the second half, but the next 3/4 of the season.
I mean, I'd love to see a Jaden Ivey Rookie of the Year season. That's something I think we'd all love to see. Hopefully, he can stay healthy and keep performing. Especially since we still don't know the circumstance of Cade's injury long term. We don't know exactly how long he's going to be out for. I think that really opens the door for Jaden Ivey to really come in and have like a dominant year. And as long as he can do that, I think he has a good chance of winning Rookie of the Year, and that's something that would be very exciting for the Pistons heading into next season. And then, I'm also curious to see, what this team can do in terms of our big man situation. I'd like to see Stewart become a consistent shooter like he has for the first quarter. He needs to continue that. He needs to show he can do it for a whole season and be that stretch shooter that we need him to be. And let's see if we can put Duren on the floor next to him and run him at the 4. I'd be curious to see how that lineup works long term. Duren, obviously a rookie. We don't know what his role is going to look like in the next coming years exactly quite yet, but I would like to see us experiment throughout the season a little more with him and find a little bit more of a solid role for him that works.
And that we're not a competitive basketball team, but I think the one thing is there's just so many young players on this team that you can follow and kind of follow game to game and
Yeah.
see their growth. Like Marvin Bagley, I think 3 players for me are the 3 players from that 2020 draft class: Hayes, Stu, and Sadiq, because they've all had their struggles, they've all been doubted.
Right.
I think those 3 players, especially with them being in their 3rd season, after next year, they're all going to be up for an extension. I think they're going to be really interesting to watch to
Yeah.
see, if they can prove that they are going to be, in the plans for the future of this team.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you
yeah.
never know with Troy Weaver. You never know what to
Oh,
expect with him, and he'll hit you with something you were definitely not ready for. And so these guys, if they want to stay safe, they have to perform. And yeah, next year is going to be a big year for them to really establish themselves as long term or short term pieces of this team.